Hi everyone, so today we are doing a lesson for English and today we are looking at capitalizing titles. So yesterday we looked at capitalizing pronouns. Today we're going to look at how we need to capitalize titles. So we're going to be looking at the titles of books, stories, and poems, okay? So you need to be on page 50 or 45 in your workbook. Go to page 45 in your workbook and it should say capitalizing titles, and we're going to look at that yellow information box at the top. So it says to capitalize the first, last, and all important words when you're capitalizing a title. So that means when we look at a story or a title, even when we write a title of our papers that we write in class, we capitalize the first word, the last word, and any important word. And we'll talk more about that as we get here. So when you look at that, if you look at the examples in purple, llamas on the loose. Llamas and loose are our first and last word, so they are capitalized. On the are not important words, so they're not capitalized. If we look at Johnny and his mule, Johnny, his, and mule are all capitalized because his is an important word in that title. Alone on over the Atlantic. Over the is not that important with it, so it doesn't have to be capitalized, okay? Look at part 2. It says book titles should be underlined when they are handwritten. So if we are writing down a book title, we have to underline it to show it is a title of a book, okay? If it is typed, then it goes in italics. Italics is that kind of half slanted, okay? When it's half slanted like that, that's called italics. And that's what you do with a book title if it is typed. Part 3, so when we look at Madeline, Ice Adventure, you can see Ice Adventure is kind of tilted. That's italics, okay? And Susan Strikes Gold, they hand wrote that, so they just underlined it. Part 3 says use quotation marks around the titles of stories and poems. So if you are writing down the title of a story or a poem, then you put quotation marks around it. Remember, those are in-air marks, okay? So the story, The Rich Man and Lazarus, remember we capitalize the important words, right? The first, last, and important words. So and is our only word not capitalized, and we have quotation marks around it. The poem Cherry Time is capitalized with quotation marks. The story of Pecos Bill Gets a Wife is capitalized and has quotation marks because that is a story, not a book. Okay, now look at part 4 in our yellow section. Capitalize names of the Bible and its divisions and its books. So that means God's word or even just the word Bible or Holy Bible are capitalized because they are names of the Bible. But when it says divisions, it means like New Testament and Old Testament and the books of the Bible. And it says like Romans 8:28, or if we said Genesis or Judges or Matthew or anything like that, you capitalize those as well. So now we are going to look at the guide practice. I already have it written on my board. So go ahead and look at the first part in here. It says to fill in the circle next to the book title that is written correctly. Okay, so we're going to make this work, hopefully. So up here we have our book titles for number 1 and 2, okay? So it's just like it is in here in your book. So if you're having trouble reading something, look in your book, okay? And I'll write bigger next time. Okay, so we have Carolina's Courage or Carolina's Courage. So this is with book titles. When we have a book title, remember, look up at your yellow section if you forget. When you have a book title, what do we need to do to it to show that it is the title of a book? We have to underline it. So not only do we need to make sure everything is capitalized correctly, we also need to make sure it's underlined, which tells me that this first section is the one I need to pick, okay? So I just put a check mark so you could kind of see it. But Carolina's Courage, where it's underlined, is the correct one for that section. Okay, if we look at number 2 right here, we have, I forgot to put a little bubble, The Mystery of Pelican Cove or The Mystery of Pelican Cove. This one was my attempt of trying to write in italics. See how it's slanted? That's on purpose. So neither one are underlined. So what did they tell us the other option is? Is when it is in italics. So that means our second choice, where it is tilted, is our correct answer. Okay? Now look at numbers 3 and 4. We're doing the same thing, but this one is for stories. Remember, our rule for stories is it needs to be in quotation marks. So a wise king and a wise son. Which one is in quotation marks? The first one. So we need to fill in that first bubble. Okay? Then look at number 4. I'm going to try to move this a little closer so you all can see. So over here for number 4, we have Jayco's answer. Which one is correct? Don't let them trick you. They're both are in quotation marks. But our first option is underlined. We don't want it underlined. It isn't a book. It is a story. So that means the second one is my correct choice. And our last 2 questions where we're filling in our bubbles is about poems. Remember, a poem is like a story and it needs quotation marks. So for number 5, over the top. Our first choice is over the top in quotation marks, and our second choice, look carefully, it is in italics. So we don't need italics and quotation marks, we just need our quotation marks. So our first choice is our correct answer. Remember, if you forget one of the rules, where can you find it? In the yellow information box on this page, page 485. And look at number 6, wind song. Which one is in quotation marks? The first choice or the second choice? The first choice. The second choice is underlined, and that would tell me it's a book. And it's not a book. It is a poem. Good job. Now, give me 1 second, and you go ahead and make sure you filled in all of these correctly. And if you need to review any of the rules, go right ahead. All right, so for numbers 7 through 12, we are looking at these, and they says to write each title correctly. In parentheses next to the title, it'll tell us if it is a book, a story, or a poem. So I need you guys to pay close attention and make sure you look to see what it is. So for number 7, it says Mountain Born, and it says in parentheses that that's a book. How, if I am writing it, do I make it a book title? If you need to look up, go ahead and look up at the yellow section. To make it a title and to do it correctly, we need to underline it and capitalize correctly. So for number 7, I'm going to capitalize mountain and born. And then I need to underline it. Okay, mountain born, and it is underlined. Great job. So number 8 says a narrow fellow in the grass, and it's a poem. What is my rule for writing a poem? Title down. We need to make sure we capitalize and put quotation marks around it. So we have a narrow. A needs to be capitalized because it is the beginning of our title. A narrow fellow in the grass. Notice I did not capitalize in the because they are not important words, right? But I capitalized a narrow fellow and grass. Okay, and make sure you put your in quotation mark. And then look at number 9. Mort and the Sour Scheme, and that is a story. What is my rule for stories? Just like poems, I need to put quotation marks. So we have Mort is capitalized, and the are not capitalized because they are not important. But sour does need to be capitalized, and then scheme. Don't forget that in quotation mark. And then look down at number 10. Courage by Darkness. What kind of article is this? Is this a book, a story, or a poem? It is a book. So what do we need to do? We need to underline. So Courage by Darkness. So we have courage capitalized because it is our first word and it's important. By is not and darkness is important, but it is also our last word. So courage by darkness. Courage and darkness are capitalized, and you underline the whole thing. If you need to pause and take a minute, if I'm going too fast, that's why we're doing it on a video. Pause after I write it so you can see it on the screen, copy it down, and then move on to the next one and hit play again, okay? So now we're on number 11. Pony Penny Day, and it is a story. Pony Penny Day. So when we look at Pony Penny Day, it's a story, which means it needs quotation marks. And Pony Penny Day, all of it is capitalized because every word in that is an important word to our title. Great job, guys. Keep it up. We are almost done with our review. So our last one, Oh Say Can You See? And it is a poem. Also notice it has an end mark. You need to make sure if it has an end mark in the title that you still write that down. So we need to do parentheses because it's a poem. Oh say can you see? All words are capitalized because all words are important in this title. And I put my question mark and my end quotations. Oh say can you see? Great job. Again, if you need me to slow down, pause it and then catch up. And that's why it's on a video, so you can do it at the pace you need to do it. Great job, guys. So when you have that written, turn it over and look at page 46. Remember, when we are doing books at home, when we are doing papers, go ahead and leave them in your book. That's why we're taking a picture and submitting them so that it's easier and we still have the hard copy, but we just leave it in our book so we don't have a bunch of loose papers at home. Okay, so you should be looking at page 46 now. So if you look, numbers 1 through 9 are filling in the circle next to the correct one. So for 1 through 4, it says in the instructions to fill in the circle next to the correct book title. Okay? It tells you in the black line of directions at the top if it's going to be a book, a story, or a poem. Okay? So 5 through 7 are story titles, and 8 through 9 are poem titles. Now look at 10 through 15. So they gave you, just like we just did for 7 through 12, they are giving you the same thing, and in parentheses it will tell you if it's a book, a story, or a poem. Make sure you capitalize everything correctly and you put the correct either underlining or quotation marks. You're not going to be putting anything in italics because you are writing all of it. So you're either underlining or putting quotation marks. Okay? And if you need help remembering, you can always look back at this video or look at the yellow on the other side of this page. Remember, leave it in your book, take a picture, and submit it. Look at the apply and write. You are doing apply and write. Write correctly a title of the favorite book and of a favorite story of yours. It doesn't have to be one we did in class. It could be one you know or one you've heard, but write it down correctly and then go ahead and turn it in. All right, great job today, guys.